you really want Daniel Jones to be the quarterback that has to save your job? Because I think that's where the Giants are this year. If Brian Daboll and the Giants go off the rails, Brian Daboll is going to lose his job as the Giants head coach. And part of it's going to be because of Daniel Jones. And look, I don't think Daniel Jones is particularly bad. I just don't think he's particularly good. He has moments. He's a mediocre NFL quarterback.
The New York Giants are one of the most miserable franchises of the last decade, managing to win more than 6 games only once since 2016. After hitting their peak, they've now hit rock bottom. Typically, a quarterback is the key to lifting a team out of such a slump, but Daniel Jones has kept them stagnant. With another 5-12 season looming, Jones, who has shown little progress since his 2019 draft, played his worst football last year before an injury ended his season after 6 games. What if I told you his primary issue, field vision, might largely stem from the team's overall performance? Yes, even though he is struggling, he hasn't had too much of a supporting cast around him. But now with Malik Naybers, he has his number 1 guy, but this team still has a long way to go. I really feel like many fans have lost sight of the long-term vision of this team. So that is what I want to talk about in this video, as well as recent news now that OTAs and minicamps are over, and so much more. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 30k subscribers, and with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. Alright, so coming into this season, once again, the expectations are not too high, and talent-wise, this team does not match up with many other teams in the league. And I have heard people call for them to tank again, so next draft, they can take a franchise QB. But honestly, I hate tanking, and I don't think they need to do it because this season isn't about winning anyways. It's about developing and establishing a young core to build around. I know New York fans hate to hear that because that's basically what they've been doing for quite some time now, but it is just the reality because of some bad decisions and also bad luck the organization has dealt with over the past few years. So let's not start with the idea of the Giants tanking for a top draft slot to spend on a quarterback in next year's draft. It's not happening. No coach who calls himself a competitor and who seeks to uphold the integrity of the game would do that, as it sends a bad message to the locker room. If that's not reason enough to dismiss this prediction as one that will never happen, consider this. If the Giants didn't tank last year when DeVito Mania was running wild and keeping the Giants' slim playoff hopes alive late into the season, what makes anyone think they'd do so this year? The other part of the bold prediction some people have made has the Giants moving up into the top 5 by trading a veteran like receiver Darius Slayton or linebacker Bobby Okereke to move up. 2 things here. First, the chances of a draft order being anywhere close to being settled by the trade deadline are slim. Besides that, in what universe does it make sense for the Giants to even contemplate trading away Okereke, one of their best defensive players? The Slayton trade suggestion could make some sense, especially if Malik Naybers becomes the kind of receiver the Giants think he could be. Slayton has been a good receiver for the Giants and has led the team in receiving yards in 4 of the last 5 seasons. He's a solid number 2 option who should benefit from having Naybers in the lineup with him. That said, it would not be surprising if Slayton's pass targets decrease this year, and if it looks as though the Giants have enough somewhere else in the receiving room, then maybe it makes sense to consider moving Slayton, who is in the final year of his contract, who did not get the extension he was looking for earlier in the spring, to a team in need of a solid receiver who's willing to part with some decent trade capital. Anyways, moving on, the Giants reportedly explored moving up from the 6th overall pick of this year's draft with Drake May in mind, but the New England Patriots ultimately kept the number 3 pick and selected the North Carolina signal caller. New York stayed at 6 and chose Malik Naybers, who is expected to become Jones' number 1 wide receiver. The Giants can escape Jones' contract next offseason and have backups Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito ready to go in case the 2019 first-round draft pick plays poorly or goes down with another injury this fall. Jones has dealt with 2 neck-related issues since the 2021 campaign and is coming off a torn right ACL that he suffered on November 5th. For a piece published Monday, Charlotte Carroll of The Athletic mentioned how the Giants made multiple offseason moves to bolster Jones' protection because they can't afford another season wrecked by poor offensive line play. Jones has dealt with 2 neck-related issues since the 2021 campaign. We were completely obliterated along the offensive line, Pook said about featuring for the Giants this past season. And Daniel, didn't have much time back there. You're telling me you're not going to trot a guy out there and make sure you know he's going to be the quarterback of the future. His contract looks pretty good right now. Even if that line routinely betrays Jones through what becomes yet another disappointing campaign for everyone involved, Giants general manager Joe Schoen may have to consider moving on from the 27-year-old, assuming Schoen is still employed by the organization when the next NFL year opens in March 2025. Going back to Daniel Jones, his reaction to the chatter that the Giants were looking into drafting a quarterback to replace him wasn't surprising. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't fired up about it, Jones said, but I think it's part of it at this level. What I can do is focus on myself and getting healthy. Play the best football I can play and that I know I'm capable of playing. That's my job and that's what I'm gonna do. Whatever happened over the offseason doesn't matter because Jones has the opportunity to reclaim his job for the long term. First, he has to be healthy. Jones tore his ACL on November 5th, but insists he'll be ready for the start of training camp and isn't concerned about week 1. He'll have a new number 1 receiver in Malik Naybers, and that will help. If Jones plays well, it will put to rest the inevitable talk of Drew Lock getting a shot and also any speculation about Jones' future. The path might have been messy, but it led to a simple place. If Jones plays well enough this season, with an exciting new number 1 receiver to throw to, he can reestablish himself as the Giants quarterback for 2025, and perhaps beyond. And if Jones struggles, he'll likely be gone. No pressure, right? The Giants are predicted to finish last in the NFC East, at least by BetMGM's odds. The Giants are plus 1,000 to win the division, which is the longest odds among the 4 teams. Their win total of 6.5 is a reminder that it could be another long season. The good news is that Malik Naybers is plus 1,100 to win NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, the 5th best odds on the board. Moving on, Devin Singletary was a top 20 fantasy back in the 2021 season. Working with Brian Daboll in Buffalo, now Singletary and Daboll are reunited, and a return to the top 20 is possible. Singletary's usefulness in Houston last season flew under the radar. He took over as the team starter for week 9 and was a top 12 back in cumulative half-point scoring for the remainder of the year. If you prefer a per-game ranking over that period, Singletary checks in as the RB20. Chasing durability can be a fool's errand at the running back position. Everyone is at injury risk, but we should note that Singletary has been reliable, logging a full season in 4 straight years. The Giants have marginal pieces behind him. Eric Gray didn't do much as a rookie, and Tyron Tracy was primarily a receiver in college. Singletary has an excellent chance to beat his current RB30 tag in Yahoo drafts. Moving on, having one of the best defensive lines in the NFL is a good foundation for any team. The Giants already had a pretty good defensive line when they traded for Brian Burns. Burns and Thibodeaux are an elite pass rushing duo. Dexter Lawrence was a top graded defensive tackle in the NFL last season via Pro Football Focus, and the team added longtime veteran Jordan Phillips to fill in next to Lawrence at tackle. That's a really good line. That makes it easier for new defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. The relationship between Martindale and head coach Brian Daboll was strained during the season, and it reportedly came to a head when Daboll fired outside linebackers coach Drew Wilkins and defensive assistant Kevin Wilkins after the season. That led to Martindale leaving the Giants. They replaced him with Bowen, who was the Titans' defensive coordinator the past 3 seasons. The Giants have questions in the secondary, but a strong line will help everything on that side of the ball. Overall, I don't think you can expect too much from the Giants this season, but if you really look at what they have, there is some potential in the future. Let me know in the comments below how you think the Giants will do in 2024, and besides that, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.